Out learning. This course is going to highlight the concept of consumer behavior. By the end of this lecture, students will be able to understand the meaning of consumers' behavior equilibrium, understand the meaning of utility, marginal utility, and total utility, understand the relationship between total utility and marginal utility, explain the law of diminishing return, explain consumer equilibrium both based on utility analysis, understand the meaning of indifference curve, indifference map, budget line, budget set and marginal rate of substitution, and derive consumer's equilibrium using indifference curve and budget line. Introduction. We buy many goods and services to satisfy our wants. Using up of goods and services to satisfy wants is called consumption, and the economic agent who buys goods and services is called a consumer. When a consumer buys any goods or services, his/her main objective is to get maximum satisfaction from the quantity of the commodities purchased by spending his/her income at the given market price. How does a consumer maximize his/her satisfaction from spending his/her income on various goods and services is the subject matter of this chapter. Meaning of consumers' equilibrium. Equilibrium means a state of rest from where there is no tendency to change. A consumer is said to be in equilibrium when he/she does not intend to change his/her level of consumption, when drives maximum satisfaction. Thus, consumer equilibrium refers to a situation where the consumer has achieved maximum possible satisfaction from the quantity of the commodity purchased given his/her income and price of the commodities in the market. As the resources are scarce in relation to unlimited wants, a consumer has to follow some principle of law in order to attain the highest level of satisfaction. Earlier, we mentioned that the behavior of consumer is controlled by the theory of demand. In particular, it controlled by the law of demand. The law of demand and its determinants control the preferences of consumer. So actually consumer aims to satisfy his needs or wants at very minimum cost or price. So the consumer behavior is driven by the price of commodity. Besides, consumer is looks to how he will get the satisfaction from spending his income. Due to that factor of economizing problem, putting into account the wants are unlimited while resources are limited. In this sense, the consumer tries to satisfy his needs accordingly. The satisfaction of needs means, in other hand, a consumer's equilibrium. So satisfactions, it is a combination of achieved wants within his limited resources, between profits and income. So the meaning of equilibrium refers to a situation where the consumer has achieved his maximum possible satisfaction from the quantity of the commodity purchased given his income and prices of the commodity in the market. So the consumer equilibrium is a combination of the price of products and the satisfaction. Approaches to consumers' behavior. There are two main approaches to study consumers' equilibrium. Two main approaches. They are as follows. Cardinal utility approach or Marshallian utility analysis is Alfred Marshall approach, or ordinal utility approach or indifference curve analysis. So two utility analysis and indifference curve analysis. Cardinal utility approach, the theory of consumers' behavior, means the theory of consumer behavior by using utility approach was first given by the noted economist Alfred Marshall. Before discussing how a consumer attains equilibrium, we need to understand the concept of utility, marginal utility, and total utility. So here the main is to understand the two approaches to study consumers' behavior or consumers' equilibrium. There are two: cardinal utility approach and ordinal utility approach. Cardinal utility approach talks about utility or theory of utility or theory of marginal utility. Ordinal utility approach is about the indifference curve and budget line and indifference map, etc. That is the difference between them. This is quantitative. The first is a quantitative approach. The second is based on how to rate the preferences of consumer. How to rate the preferences of consumer. So these are the main. Utility. Utility is defined as the power of commodity to satisfy a human wants. Very short and very accurate definition of utility. Utility is the power of a commodity. Power of a commodity to satisfy what? A human wants, human needs. And some writers utility of a commodity is the total amount of psychological satisfaction that a person gets from consumption of a good or service. For example, a dirty person derives satisfaction from drinking a glass of water. Okay? Assume that dirty person, his satisfaction, he gets his satisfaction from drinking a glass of water. So a glass of water has got utility for thirsty person. Actually, utility is a personal subject. It is a personal issue. Utility differs from person to person. It is subjective and cannot be measured quantitatively. Yet, for the sake of convenience, it is measured in utils. Fred Marshall suggested that the measurement of utility should also be done in monetary terms by converting utils in money by using the following formula: utility in money equal utility in util over utility of a dollar. Utility of dollar can be assumed to be any number such as 1, 2, 3, etc. Let utility of $1 is assumed to be 2 utils. Then 10 utils equal 5 utils of dollar. So the main here is, first, utility is a power of commodity to satisfy a human want. Utility, it is a personal issue. is differ from one person to another one. Utility, thus, it is subjective. Utility cannot be measured quantitatively. Instead of that, can be measured in utils. This is a suggestion of Alfred Marshall. What is utility? It is one satisfying power of a commodity. It is the measure of the satisfaction that the consumer expects to obtain from consumption of goods and services when he spends money on a stock of commodity which has the capacity to satisfy his want. Subjective and relative entity and varies from person to person. From economic standpoint, even harmful things like liquor may be said to have utility because people want them. Thus, in economics, the concept of utility is ethically neutral. Theory to explain consumer behavior and consumer demand. Marginal utility analysis by Alfred Marshall. Indifference curve analysis by G.R. John Hicks and Ronald Allen. So these are the main features or the main characteristics of utility. Marginal utility, MU. Marginal utility is the addition to the total utility derived from the consumption of an additional unit of a commodity. It can be also defined as the utility from the last unit of a commodity consumed. Now, let us explain the concept of marginal utility with the help of an example. Suppose a consumer gets total utility of 10 utils from consumption of 1 orange and 18 utils from consumption 2 orange. He gets 8 utils from consumption of second orange. So marginal utility of second orange is 10, is 8 utils. If total utility derived from 3 oranges is 24 utils, then marginal utility of 3 orange is 6 utils. It's about 24 minus 18. In this case, third orange is the last orange. The marginal utility of 3 orange is 6 utils. Marginal utility can be explained 1. Marginal utility equal total utility when a consumer consumes first unit of product. Assume that the first orange gives the consumer 10 utils. 10 utils equals marginal, so consuming first orange gives the consumer total utility equal 10, and marginal utility also equal 10. The more the consumer consumes 1 unit of product, the less the marginal utility, and the more the total utility. Total marginal utility, it is the relation between the first total utility and the second total utility. So 2u1 minus 2u equals mu1. Marginal utility can be calculated by the following formula: mun equal 2un minus 2un minus 1, or mu marginal utility equal the change in total utility over the change of x, where mun marginal utility of nth unit of commodity, tun total utility of n units, tun minus 1 equal total utility of n minus 1 units, xn equal quantity of nth unit of goods x, xn minus 1 quantity or n minus 1's units of good x, and take the values 1, 2, 3, etc. Law of marginal utility. The concept of marginal utility grew out of attempts by economists to explain the determination of price. Marginal utility can be defined as a measure of relative satisfaction gained or lost from an increase or decrease in the consumption of that good or service. The law of diminishing marginal utility describes a familiar and fundamental tendency of human behavior. The law of diminishing marginal utility states that as the consumer consumes more and more units of a specific commodity, utility from the successive units goes on diminishing. So the concept of marginal utility it is very required to explain the behavior of consumer and consumer equilibrium and the relation between price of a commodity and satisfaction. Here we need to make stress on the diminishing character of marginal utility. The diminishing nature of marginal utility can be expressed de facto by downward curve. So the law of diminishing marginal utility states that as the consumer consumes more and more units of a specific commodity, utility from the successive units goes on diminishing or false. Various statements of the law of diminishing marginal utility given in from various economists use various concepts and statements. Assumptions of the law of diminishing return. Various units of goods are homogeneous. There is no time gap between consumption of the different units. Consumer is rational. Tastes, preference, and fashion remain unchanged. Consumer possess perfect knowledge of the price in the market. No price change. It assumes law of marginal utility. Utilities of different commodities are independent of each other. The law of diminishing utility is based upon three facts. The wants of a man are unlimited, but single want can be satisfied. As a man gets more and more units of a commodity, the desire or willingness of his want for that goods or service goes on falling, diminishing. A point is reached when the consumer no longer wants any more units of that good. mu equals 0. Different goods are not perfect substitutes for each other in the satisfaction of various particular wants. That's correct. There is no change in taste of the consumers. So good X gives utility different from good Y. Good Y gives utility different from good Z, etc. So these are the basics of the law. The wants of a man are unlimited, but single want can be satisfied. The desire goes on falling when more and more units of a commodity gets. There are different goods are not perfect substitutes. That's correct. For each other in the satisfaction of various particular wants. Remind you about the previous example. Suppose a person is thirsty and the price of water is 0. Okay? He is thirsty and the price of water equals to 0. He takes 1 glass of water, so we assume that he spent 0, which gives him great satisfaction, very great satisfaction, because he is very thirsty. Now we can say the first glass of water has great utility for him. He then takes the second glass of water. The utility of the second glass, obviously, of the water is less than that of the first glass of water. The utility declines because the edge of thirst has been blunted to a great extent. If he drinks third glass of water, the utility of the third glass will be less than that of the second, and so on. The utility goes on diminishing with the consumption of every successive glass of water till it drops down to 0. More glasses declines total utility dominantly. This table expresses the previous example. It consists of 3 columns: column for units of products or water, total utility, and marginal utility. Total utility is the summation of marginal utility, and utility is the change in total utility. So consumer consumes first glass of water, that gives him total utility equal 20 utils, and marginal utility equal 20 utils. At first glass total utility equal marginal utility. This is statement law. Let us move to the second glass. The second glass gives consumer 12 marginal utility. The total utility is 20 plus 12 equal 32, and the difference between second total utility and the first total utility is 32 minus 20 equal 12. Let's move to the third glass. Third glass gives 8 marginal utility. 8 plus 32, the previous total utility equal 40. Or the change as notice that 40 is the summation of first marginal utility plus second marginal utility plus third marginal utility. 20 plus 12 plus 8. For the fourth glass, the total utility equal 42 and the marginal utility equal 2. The summation of all marginal utilities equal 20 plus 12 plus 8 plus 2 equal 42. The fifth glass gives 0 marginal utility. Now the total utility is 42 constant. Sixth glass, the marginal utility declines from 0 to -3 respectively. The total utility declines from 42 to 39. 42 minus 3 equal 39. The total utility of 39, it is a summation of all marginal utilities. 39 minus 42 equals -3. 42 minus 42 equals 0. 42 minus 40 equals 2. 40 minus 32 equals 8. 30 minus 20 equals 32 minus 20 equal 12. And when the first class total utility equal marginal utility. This is a graphical approximately presentation of the previous example. Initial utility equal 20, diminishing mu curve 0 mu. Based on the nature of the marginal utility, diminishing nature, the curve of marginal utility usually sloping down. So as you see, at glass 5, the total utility, the marginal utility equal 0, and when the rate of the glass is equal 6, the marginal utility equal -3 under the axis of x. So this graphical presentation of the previous example. So, as you see, for 8, 12, 16, 20, and here given various quantity of goods from 1 up to 7. Total utility. Total utility is the total satisfaction obtained from the consumption of all possible units of a commodity. For example, if the first orange gives you a satisfaction of 10 utils, second one gives you 8 utils, and third one gives you 6 utils. Then total utility from 3 orange equal 10 plus 8 plus 6 equal 24 utils. Total utility can be obtained by summing up marginal utilities from consumption of different units of a commodity. Thus, total utility can be calculated as mu1 plus muz plus mu3 plus mun or tun equals summation of mu sigma. So the main here is the total utility equals the summation of marginal utility, sigma of marginal utility. As you see, the total utility from consuming 3 oranges equal 24. 10 plus 8 plus 6. 10 is the marginal utility of the first good, 8 is the second utility of the second goods, and 6 is the marginal utility of the third good. Relation between marginal and total utility. Given 6 units of orange, marginal utility and total utility. The first unit gives marginal utility equal total utility equal 10 utils. The second gives marginal utility equal 8, and obviously the total utility equal 10 plus 8 equal 18. The third gives marginal utility equal 6 utils, and 6 utils plus 18 equal 24 utils. The fourth gives 2 only utils of marginal utility, and then the total utility equal 26. The fifth unit gives 0 marginal utility, and then the total utility is constant equal 25. The sixth gives marginal utility equal -2, and the total utility equal 24. Total utility false, marginal utility negative. So marginal utility, total utility increase at diminishing rate mu is positive. So if when marginal utility is when total utility increases at diminishing rate, that means marginal utility is positive. When total utility reached the max, that means marginal utility equal 0. At 0, mu margin total utility, it is at maximum. The fall of total utility will happen when marginal utility is negative. When marginal utility is negative. These two graphs explain the relation between total utility and marginal utility. Just here I would like to stress on, as you see, total utility at the maximum when marginal utility equal 0, and total utility starts decline when the marginal utility starts decline also. That the nature of the curve of marginal utility is sloping down, negative curve of course. So this line connected between the maximum utility from the first curve to the second curve, when the correlated between these 2 points, maximum utility and 0 marginal utility. Consumer equilibrium in case of one product. Consumer's equilibrium in case of single commodity can be explained on the basis of the law of diminishing marginal utility. It will depend upon 2 factors: the price of one unit of good and the marginal utility of the good. The condition of equilibrium is the marginal utility of goods equals to the marginal utility of money or price paid for that good. This is let us take one example to explain the issue of one case. Example of one commodity or consumer's equilibrium in case of one commodity. Given 6 units of product X and the price of 1 unit equal 10, and marginal utility of X 20, 16, 10, 4, 0, -2, a marginal utility of the money MUX in sense of price, and the difference between the price and the marginal utility, and remarks. Okay. MU XP is the relation between MU marginal utility and the units of X. So 20 over 1 equal 1, 16 over 1 equals 16, and 10 over 1 per 1 unit over 1 equal 10, and 4 over 1 equal 4, and 0 over 1 equals 0, and negative 1 over 1 equals negative 2. Let's see the difference between this MUXP and the price. 20 negative 10 equal 10, 16 negative 10 equal 6, and 10 negative 10 equal 0, 4 negative 10 equal negative 6, and 0 negative 10 equal negative 10, negative 10 negative 2 equal negative 12. MUX first, for first X more than PX, consumer will consume. When the second unit increase the consumption, the third MUX equal PX, as you see 10 equal 10, consumer equilibrium at the third unit. MUX less than PX, consumption will decrease. So, and the last is the negative 12 and negative. That's the end of the process of consumption. It's clear from above table that the consumer will be at equilibrium when he buys 3 units of the commodity X. He will increase consumption beyond 2 units at marginal utility of X is more than PX. He will not consume 4 units or more of the commodity X as MUX less than PX. Now let's see the case of 2 or more commodities, the continuous equilibrium in case of 2 or more commodities. And let a consumer buys 2 goods X and Y, then at equilibrium the condition is MUX over PX equal MUY over PY equal marginal utility of money of last dollar spent on each good, or simply marginal utility of money. Okay, table expresses the consumer equilibrium in case of 2 goods. To explain the consumer's equilibrium in case of 2 goods, let us take an example. Suppose a consumer has $24 with him to spend on 2 goods X and Y. Further, suppose price of each unit of X is $2 and that of Y is $3. And marginal utility of money equals to 5. The marginal utility schedule is given in the table below. Here are 6 units of product of commodity. The marginal utility is given for X and the marginal utility for Y is given. This is a calculation of marginal utility of X over price of X. So 20 over 2, 10, 18 over 2, 9, and 16 over 2, 8, and 14 over 2, 7, and 12 over 2 6 and 10 over 2 5, and go into the marginal utility of y over price of 1 unit of y is 876,543. Firstly, let's see where mux over px equal muy over py. More than one circumstance. There is 8, 7, 6, 5. 4 situations where mux equal px. If the condition of consumer equilibrium is restricted only by the equality between mu x and over px and mu y over by. Here there are 4 situations of consumer's equilibrium, but the restriction and constraint is that not only mu x over px equal mu y over py, but is restricted by equals to marginal utility of money. Given the marginal utility of money is equal 5, then the optimal solution is to consume 6 of x1 and 4 of x2. Check the row. In the fourth row, 15 over 3 equal 5 in the fourth row, and 10 over 2 equal 5 in 6th row. 6th row means 6 units, and 4th row means 4 units of commodity. That's therefore the consumer will reach his equilibrium when he consumes 4 units of y and 5 units of 6, because this mu x over px equal mu y over py equal 5 if equals to the marginal utility of money. Now the 6 units of x costs 6 times 2 equal 12, and the 4 units of y cost 4 times 3 equal 12. 12 plus 12 equal 24. This is the income of the consumer given in the example. For obtaining maximum satisfaction, referring to the previous example, for obtaining maximum satisfaction from spending his income of $24, the consumer will buy 6 units of X1 by spending $12. $12 equal 2 times 6, and 4 units of Y by spending also $12. 3 times 4 equal 12. This combination of goods brings him maximum satisfaction or state of equilibrium, because a dollar worth of mu in case of good X is 5 10 over 2, and in case of good Y is also 5, or marginal utility of money equal 5. Original approach, indifference scale. In the 1930s, an alternative theory of consumer behavior was developed by John Hicks of the Oxford University and R. Allen of the London School of Economics. It come to be known as the preference approach to consumer behavior. It was called the preference indifference curve approach and was developed as a response to increasing dissatisfaction of the Marshallian approach. In particular, economists of the new classical tradition started questioning the scientific validity of the assumptions of cardinal measurement of utility and constant marginal utility of money. Such assumption, it was pointed out, reduce the explanatory as well as predictive power of the model. It was also realized that those assumptions were not required to drive the law of demand and other related propositions of demand theory. Meaning of indifference curve. When a consumer consumes various goods and services, then there are some combinations, bundles, which give him same satisfaction. The graphical representation of such combinations is termed as difference curve. This combination A, B, C, D, goods X 1, 2, 3, 4, goods Y 8, 4, 2, 1. This is a marginal rate of substitution relation between the change in Y to the change of for X, for Y to 1X, 2Y to 1X, and 1Y to 1X. This graphical presentation of indifference curve. For example, let's look at the curve, and that's on the vertical axis is Y and the horizontal axis is X. For example, A, it is a combination of 8 of Y and 1 of X. B is the combination of 4 of Y and 2 of X. C is a combination of 2 of Y and 3 of X. The nature of this curve is convex to the original and is sloping down. It's called indifference curve. Indifference curve. So contains various combination of product y and product x. But here we need to emphasize that combination A and combination B, combination C and combination D give the consumer the same level of satisfaction. In this manner there is no difference. So the combination of 8 of y and 1 of x gives the same combination, the same utility of the combination of 4y and 2x and 2y and 3x. This is the main to understand the features on or the function of marginal utility. All these combinations A, B, C, D give the consumer the same satisfaction. Of course, there are various we face a map of indifference curves, many curves. So when the combination at the high curve, it gives more utility, more satisfaction. So for example, IC1, if we mark this IC1, IC2, the combination on IC2 gives more satisfaction than the combinations on IC1. This is a very significant, but here we would like to make stress on the nature of the sloping down. The nature of IC is sloping down. Here also we would like to emphasize that each graph consists only of two goods, because the nature of graph is consisting of two axes. So each axis represents only one good. Let's see properties of indifference curve. First, indifference curves are always convex to the origin, not concave, convex to the origin. Indifference curves slope downwards. High indifference curve represent higher level of satisfaction. XC, so the combination B on IC2 gives more satisfaction than the combination A on IC1. Okay. As you look here, we see two curves, IC1 and IC2. All combinations on IC2 give more satisfaction than the combination on IC1. So indifference curves are always convex, not concave, convex to the origin, to the zero. Okay. indifference curve can never intersect. The graph 2 shows that this is not acceptable. The intersection between two indifference curves. Why? See, just look at the intersection point B. Now, the combination A, which originally on the IC1 gives more satisfaction than the combination C, which its original place on IC2. This is not logic. Assume that there is combination D on IC1 and combination F on IC2. So combination D and combination A on the same curve IC1 and combination C and combination F also on the same curve IC2, but combination A gives more satisfaction than combination C, and combination D gives less satisfaction in spite of it's on the same curve of the combination A. Here we notice some confusion. That is why the nature of indifference curve can never intersect. So please remember that the properties of indifference curve are always convex to the origin. Indifference curve sloping down. High indifference curves represent higher level of satisfaction. Indifference curves can never intersect. Graphical presentation of indifference curves. This graph contains three indifference curves. Here just would like to make stress on the nature of these curves. E the intersection between IC2, Y1 and X1. This is a point of equilibrium of a consumer. Later on we will in depth analyze the essence of graphical methods. This because in this semester we are focusing on the elements or introduction to economics, not economics exactly. This is just an introduction to economics. Later on in depth we will analyze the advanced option of graphical, not graphical, actually indifference curve or the preference approach. Thank you.